these guys are terrific, and they're going to give us some insights into how this all is coming together. Immediately to my right is Kevin Chung. Kevin is the Chief Strategy Officer at Writer.com. He's been in technology all of his life since he graduated from Berkeley, but quite a bit before that too. And Michael Rogers is also from the state of California. He was in Southern California. Kevin grew up in the Oakland area, went to school at Berkeley. Michael grew up in near Palm Springs, but went to school at Stanford. So this ecosystem in Northern California is real. Michael is labeled as a futurist. That's a tough business card to give out every day, Michael, huh? But Michael's worked in media. He's got a strangest background. He's studied physics at Stanford and also got a degree in creative writing. You don't hear that combination every day. He's genuinely a right brain, left brain person. And Kevin has been a technologist and is in a really interesting company now. And when we were chatting earlier, Kevin grew up in Oakland, but currently lives in Singapore, but said he wants to return to New York because this is where it's happening. It was kind of nice to hear. Kevin, let's start with you. Yours is one of the few companies that's making money now in AI, and that's because everywhere I go, and I've heard it a dozen times today, I have a business, how do I get started? Who do I go to how do I deploy this technology? And that's what you do. Tell us a little bit about Writer.com and how you got involved there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our focus is really helping enterprises deploy AI in their organizations, right? And so that's a tall order and a tall task, but we've been up for it for quite some time. So we're just seeing massive transformation in organizations. Like when you deploy AI and give people a digital worker that they can work with, it exponentially grows their business in meaningful ways. And then we're working with companies across the spectrum from Fortune 10 all the way to Global 2000 organizations, basically transforming every part of their business. And so that's really what we do at the core. And what's really exciting is the ROI is off the charts, like what we're seeing. When people are, you were just talking about business models, like us, even of ourselves, we're trying to run a successful business.
Well,
right?
I got to believe that you, your own first client.
Absolutely. Like we're using AI in everything. I found that like even before I joined this company, I was looking at the way I was doing things, and now I'm able to be like 1,000 times more productive. Like even before I get my first cup of coffee, I've already have agents doing all this work for me that when I get to my desk, I have all this work product already done.
Drill down on that. Give me an example.
Yeah, for sure. So like I wake up probably to 1,000 Slack messages, maybe 500 emails. And you just can't humanly go through all of that before the beginning of the day. So you can have an agent that
you can't do it by the end of the day.
You can't do it by the end of the day, right? You can't even figure out how to do all that stuff. And so imagine being able to just have like a one-sheeter that tells you, here's the most important thing you need to look at. And what if you could go back and say, like, actually draft some responses? Like this is actually level 1 easy stuff you can do. Now imagine translating that into something like, we have physicians who are using Writer. When you go to a doctor, the biggest thing that I have an issue with is like they're always on their computer. The follow-ups are super slow. Like you can't get the patient care that you want. Well, now that we can deploy these agents where they can actually come in fully informed on a patient, like they can get a one paragraph that explains exactly what's happening, and the follow-up is automatic. Yes. So you don't need to wait for somebody to type it up. Everything can be evidence-based immediately, and like that allows the physicians to focus on the care, not necessarily the administrative work, and that's pretty incredible.
Kevin, you started your career. What was your first job out of school?
I worked my parents owned a restaurant, so I was probably working when I was 6.
Yes.
That's probably not legal, but I was working, at every part of the restaurant. But my first job out of school was in consulting. So I worked in consulting. I worked with large companies, but my biggest shift was to technology. So I joined Google, worked on the team that launched digital payments. So before we did anything with like Apple Pay and Google Pay, I was on that launch team. And then I moved over to Dropbox and was working on digital transformation.
This is before Dropbox was in the cloud.
That's correct. Well, that was before everybody was moving stuff to the cloud.
Yes.
Everybody was like, oh, we're putting stuff on hard drives. We're printing stuff out. And then I joined a company that did visual collaboration at the start of the pandemic, about 3 days before.
And so Writer.com is 5 years old. You joined 3 years ago. How did you come to move to Singapore?
So Singapore was more of a personal move because I wanted to be able to see transformation in different parts of the world. I mean, I'm in the Bay Area and New York probably every month anyways. Mm-hmm. So I'm basically living an East-West life, be able to really bring the technology of the Valley to places like Singapore and to APAC. So that was the big reason.
So 3 years ago to today, 36 months.
Yeah.
what surprised you? What's happened in that 3 years?
So, when I joined the company, it was ChatGPT had just come out. There was a lot of hype about the technology, right? Like we also had just
It was only 32 months ago.
Yeah.
No, it was 3 years ago exactly,
yeah,
right?
it's pretty crazy. So what we were seeing was like everybody was interested but skeptical,
Yes.
right? And so now what we're seeing is this is now the start of the movement to move us all to AI agents, right? So people were hesitant because they were worried about technology. Is it a hype? What is going on here? We had just come off of metaverse. We invested a lot of time in that. And now what we're seeing is this is the number one mandate of every company, every board, every organization. They want to figure out how to do this because this is a massive competitive advantage for everyone.
So as I try and get my arms around AI, I think of it in two buckets. One is efficiencies. I can understand that. How do you go through my emails, tell me thematically what's going on? How do I have a legal department with, instead of 30 people, it's got 5 people? Finance, less. So efficiency, I can understand that. Michael, what comes after efficiency when Kevin gives us capabilities to do things that we didn't imagine beyond efficiencies?
Well, I think at that point, we remember to use our microphones. And the next question really is, I think, where does the human fit into that?
Does it?
Oh, I think it does, but humans are going to have to be trained for some specific jobs in the
By
future.
an AI agent?
No, I think it's got to start in kindergarten. Because I think really what we're going to find is that we need a completely different kind of education that focuses on what is uniquely human. And this is something that people have talked about quite a bit, but for me, it's essentially 3 things. One is empathetic communication. Empathetic communication because in 5 years, AI bots are going to be great customer service representatives. They'll know everything about the company, and they're happy to talk to you for 3 hours if that's what you'd like. But there's always got to be a human behind that, either perhaps to close the sale or to answer some personal questions, and that's empathetic communication. The second piece is open-ended problem solving, which is not using tools to think through a problem, or using very simple tools. Don't turn to Google, don't turn to ChatGPT. The best model I can think of is I used to go to a lot of engineering conferences, and someone giving a talk.
Just for laughs.
Yeah, it was a hobby of mine. No, that was my dark technology side. I was in technology so early, I didn't let my companions at Rolling Stone, where I worked, even know that I snuck down to engineering conferences, because that was so uncool.
Little known fact about Michael, he graduates from Stanford. He gets a job offer. Here he is, a physicist and a writer. He gets a job offer from some tech startup down the road with kind of enormous equity opportunities. But he decided to pursue his passion of writing. Had he taken that job offer, he'd have an army of writers working for him. What was the name of that little startup company?
Intel, that's it, yeah. No, but Rolling Stone was very good to me, the parts I can remember. But so it's, at an engineering conference, you hear someone say something that's got a few numbers in it, and you look around, and half of the audience is scribbling on the back of an envelope. So-called back of the envelope problem solving, just making sure that what the engineer on stage said makes a little bit of sense. So it's that sort of back end of the envelope figuring that we need to bring when humans look at AI-generated content. So that to me is very important. And the final one is collaboration. Collaboration, it's interesting. We have agentic AI, but that's more just passing things back and forth. I don't think we've really had a lot of success at getting 2 AI entities to really collaborate in the way that humans can. I think there is some magic about having humans all in one room, the whiteboard and a mission that creates this kind of emotional context that truly does bring out ideas. Now, in the future, AI will be part of that collaboration, and we're going to need to learn how to collaborate with AI. But the key is these 3 things, we kind of assume they're sort of human qualities, but in many ways, the technology that we're using now, particularly for younger people, tends to drive that away. I first started to think about that when a Fortune 500 HR person told me they were starting a remedial social skills class. And I said, what is that? That basically, a lot of it was just good manners.
How to make eye contact?
Worse than that. She went on, I said, okay, I understand sort of business etiquette. Someone had to teach baby boomers not to type in all caps. But she said, the main thing is conversation. How to start a conversation and how to know a conversation is over. And I said, whoa, that freaks me out a little. She said, well, it's a generation that has grown up with asynchronous communication.
Sure.
So, you don't have that face-to-face tension. Even if all you're going to do is text back LOL, you got a moment to think about it. So, who knew we had to teach conversation? But we do. So that's the kind of skill that we need to focus on.
Michael, you've written a lot of books. You worked at the New York Times. You worked at the Washington Post, where you were always the futurist. Look ahead. What's coming? You'd go to crazy concerts. You were in the Sahara Desert to witness a total eclipse, and you hung around with every known astronomer of note in the world. So you've had a wealth of experiences. Bringing all that to the table now, look out. Give us the preface of your new 5-year lookbook. What do you think things look like when we gather here at City Hall 5 years from now?
Well, I think there'll be a number of people who have the title Chief AI Officer. I'm hearing a lot of conflict about that in organizations I work with now. We've got a CIO. We have a CTO. Shouldn't we be just integrating AI into our existing
Wouldn't
IT
it already have
structure?
happened by then?
Pardon?
Doesn't this wave already wash over us by then?
I think that there will be a separate department which will be run by the CAIO. And that will deal with, in a sense, this whole, in a sense, you could think of it as an HR department for bots. Because you'll have this whole...
Will they have
group-
their own agent?
They'll all be their own agents. There will be headhunters. But you'll have this whole team of bots that you need to sort of keep an eye on. There's going to be human bot issues. How do you train humans to work well within this organization? Workers' rights. When a worker is doing things with AI, and AI perhaps decides that the worker is not up to par, how do you come in and troubleshoot that? Because HR does human to human, but who does human to bot? So there's a workers' rights question. And then finally, and this is where we get into science fiction, there's already 2 groups in the United States that are going to campaign for AI rights. Because at some point, some group of us at least will decide that AI is conscious. And as soon as enough people believe that, there will be a sense that, like any conscious being, AI has rights. So that may not yet be an issue 5 years from now, but probably 10 years from now, that will be bubbling around.
Kevin, what gets you excited today at work?
So when you're talking about 5 years, like
I can't imagine 5 years.
Yeah, it's
I
like-
marvel at your ability to do that.
we're talking when we're here like a year from now, we're all going to have AI agents. We're calling them digital workers. Like they're going to be working for us, right? You're going to have people coming out of school that'll all be managers. They'll be managers of AI agents.
Yes.
Right. So we're going to have tens of thousands of agents that we need to know. Michael's exactly on point, which is we're going to need to know how to orchestrate and manage all these agents.
That's the new skill set of the future.
That's going to be a new skill set right now, right? Like that's what we should be teaching our kids in school around how do we actually learn how to, well, obviously we have to learn how to interact with human beings. We're going to have to learn how to interact with agents as well.
Yes.
Right. And so the org charts will look like this. Lots of humans, lots of agents, probably more agents than humans because we can scale the amount of agents and orchestration. Like one human can manage tens of, if not hundreds of thousands of agents, right? So that's our future starting tomorrow, actually. So by next year, I think all of us will have an army of agents working for us. The next question years from now is like, what are all those things that they're doing? How autonomous are we gonna let them do it? And that's kind of the big open question right now, is that autonomy.
So Kevin, we have a student there in the white jacket. Her name is Molly Richardson. She's a senior at St. John's University. She's studying international business, minoring in French. what should she be, what other coursework or what other personal work should she be doing this year to ready her for the workplace of the future?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's doing exactly what you're doing right now, adding AI elements into your personal and everyday life, right? It doesn't have to be like, you don't need to AI-ify everything, but you definitely want to look at, well, where can I use it to be more productive, help me learn faster, help me do these things? And that's the starting point, right? Like once you start using it in your everyday life, it starts to be more easier when you can use it in work. And again, it's like that interaction with like us and digital agents is going to be pretty key. Like we just don't have that skill set today. Like it's going to have to be learned. And that, you know, I found out that my son is actually better at using AI than I am because that's actually the form factor he's learning.
He's native.
He's native.
Yeah.
He doesn't go to Google to do his research. He's using AI to do all his research. He doesn't have to click on links anymore. He's like, Dad, why are you clicking on links?
How old is your son?
He's 9.
And he's asking you, why, old man, are you clicking on
Yeah,
links?
he's like, why are you looking at ads? Why are you clicking on links? Why are you doing all that stuff? I already got a summary for you.
Mm-hmm. Michael, what are the credentials for the future? What are the badges that young people like Molly should be thinking about now, even whether it's school-related or extra school?
Well, I think you need to be a subject matter expert. That's important. But at the same time, you need to be to understand sort of how machines think. I mean, it sort of goes back basically to understanding the scientific method, rationality, things that we don't necessarily teach in school that well. But just understanding how machines, and I mean that very broadly, work on top of being a subject matter expert or a skills expert. When I was once running a technology magazine, I told everybody I would rather hire a good writer and teach them technology than hire a technology expert and teach them how to write.
So in closing, something Molly should read, something, a podcast you should listen to?
Well, I don't need to plug anything, but right now,
Go ahead, Michael.
my favorite print magazine for just staying up on technology is the MIT Technology Review. It's, and then of course there's Worth.
Good sucking up. I like that a lot. Kevin, what would you recommend she listen to, read?
I mean, you know, honestly, any component of what you can see about what companies are doing, like how they're leveraging the technology, it's moving so quickly. Like anything that's written is usually pretty outdated, pretty fast. Mm-hmm. So it's mostly just like keep up with the latest trends. Like the news moves pretty quickly. It's like you can find it pretty much everywhere.
Good. Kevin and Michael will be around with us. Grab them aside. I've so enjoyed getting to know them today. I hope I got a little bit of a hint of how smart and how good they are. Grab them on the side and pump them with your questions. Thanks, guys, for helping us out.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.